and welcome. You're watching Last Take on Money9, India's first multilingual platform for personal finance from TV9 News Network. I'm Sakshi, Batra, and on this show we recap for you the entire day's market action and help you understand what really moved the markets today, especially what will be the factors that the markets will be tracking in the days to follow. Let's quickly take a look at what kind of a closing did we see for the Indian benchmark indices today. So it's all red screen in front of you. Today the market, however, it opened in the green. It could not sustain those gains, and the last hour of slippage is what actually pulled down the indices sharply lower in today's trading session. Remember, it's the fourth consecutive day of losses for the Indian benchmark indices. Over 1% of losses is what we have seen for both Sensex and the Nifty today. The Sensex giving up the 50,000 level as well. It shut shop at 49,800. Also, the Nifty 50 closed at 14,721. So remember, there's an almost 200-point decline for the Nifty 50 also in today's trading session. 1.3% loss for that one as well. The underperformance has also come in from the banking index. You can clearly see that the index was down in the early trade also, and 1.5% loss is what we have seen towards the close of the session too. 34,229 is the kind of level at which the Nifty Bank has shut shop. The major underperformance today has actually come in from the broader markets, and that's surprising because the broader market indices were still holding on to the gains despite the overall broad-based sell-off in yesterday's trading session, but they have reversed all kind of gains that they had garnered in yesterday's trading session as well. Over 2% loss for the mid-cap and the small-cap index, 2.3% loss for the mid-cap index. That's a loss of about 466 points. The small-cap index also shut shop lower at around 450 points. That's over 2% loss for the small cap index as well. Now, what has triggered the sell-off in the markets today? Tepid global cues. There were mixed global cues that we saw in the opening trade, with the US indices also, ending in the mixed trade. Also, the Asian indices were not showing too much of a buoyancy in the early trade as well. Of course, you need to see that the European markets also have been trading down, and all of those factors have been behind it. Of course, in the domestic markets, there have been triggers like the rising COVID-19 cases and the nervousness around the lockdowns and the fresh restrictions being imposed in several states of the country. That has also dampened the sentiments of the investors today. Nervousness ahead of the US FOMC outcome that is likely to come tonight is definitely going to be important to track for the market, and that is something that the markets have been keenly watching, and investors have been showing some kind of nervousness on some kind of expectations on a reversal of the dovish trajectory that the US Fed has been following. Any indications on the rising of the interest rates is again something that has been bothering the investors today. Now, all of those are speculations and expectations. We'll just have to wait and watch out for tonight's decision from the Fed as well. Now, concerns over rising inflation is another factor that the markets are really perturbed about. Also, the strong IPO pipeline we have been seeing in the last 1 week, 4 or 5 IPOs having come with over 4,000 crore rupees worth of raising of funds over there. So most of the money is actually flowing into the primary market space as well. So that could also be one reason why the markets have been losing the kind of breadth that we have seen today. Apart from this, sectoral movers is a very bad picture right now. It's all sectors have ended in the red, with sharpest declines seen in the realty space. Now, this index was actually performing better yesterday. It was still in the green in the early trade, but now it has shut shop with 3% losses there. Also, 1.8% loss for the auto index. So the losses have deepened in auto, in realty, and in PSU banking space. Almost 4% loss for that index. Now, we'll just have to wait and watch out to find out what really triggered the loss, the sharp loss in the PSU banking index especially, and if this could be seen as an opportunity for investors to get into those quality names that have already had a huge run up in the month of February. Now, pharma also lost about 2%, metals lost about 2.5%, 3% loss for the media stocks as well. So it was a broad-based sell-off that we have seen today in the trading session. In fact, if you see, there have been only, when you talk about the Nifty gainers, there's been only just 2 gainers today, and the entire 48 bunch of stocks of Nifty have been closing in the red in today's trading session. So overall market spread remain in favor of the bears, and there's only a 1.5% jump for ITC, and Infosys rose about 0.22% in trade, the only ones holding the fort for the Nifty. Other than that, when you talk about the laggards, it's been the oil and gas space that has been an underperformer, with with BPCL losing 5% in trade. Remember, in the early morning trading session, we had told you in our morning show that that there will be a trigger for BPCL to react because the company has announced an interim dividend. However, the investors were actually expecting a much higher dividend, and that is why you could actually see some bit of disappointment on this stock as well. 5% loss for ONGC counter, Tata Motors, Adani Ports and Coal India. The other majors also losing in trade and almost about down 4.5% in trade today. So that's as far as the Nifty, Sensex, Nifty index is concerned. Now, as far as the primary market space is concerned, there has been a huge buzz. Nazara Technologies opened its IPO for subscription today, and on day one itself, it has seen an overwhelming response, and that was the expectation because of the rising investors' interest around this IPO. 3.22 times of subscription is what we've already seen. Remember, the IPO will now close on March 19. Moving on to another IPO that opened today for subscription, Suryodaya Small Finance Bank. It has subscribed 30% so far, and this issue also will close itself on March 19th. Another IPO that you need to watch out for is Kalyan Jewelers that had opened for subscription yesterday. It has got 98% subscription so far, and the company, the IPO will shut shop on March 18th, that's tomorrow. So keep an eye out on that one as well. Lakshmi Organic Industries Limited has already got subscription of over 100 times so far, and the issue will close today. Another IPO that has been making the mark was Craftsman Automation Limited. It also has got an oversubscription of about 3.5 times, and the IPO is again going to be closing today. And again, these were the IPO spaces that you need to keep a watch out for, and we'll keep giving you all the updates even tomorrow, since IPO is the buzzing section right now in the markets. Now, the factors that the markets will be tracking tomorrow would definitely be: one, the FOMC outcome. What does the US Fed really decide as far as the trajectory on interest rates is concerned? What is the kind of projections do they give for GDP, for inflation, if there is any change over there? So all of those factors will be keenly watched out for, and depending on that, how the US markets react and then how the Asian markets open up tomorrow will be key for the Indian markets to track as well. The foreign institutional investors, although they bought in Indian markets yesterday of about 1,000 odd crore rupees, we'll just have to see if the sell-off has also happened from the FII's front as well, which has exerted pressure. The data will come out later in the evening. Of course, the rising COVID-19 cases, we have seen statements from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has done meetings with state chief ministers and has raised the concerns over the rising cases of COVID-19, and has also asked them to take steps with regards to checking and vaccinations so that any kind of lapses can be avoided on this front as well. So all of that will be important to track. So with that, we wrap up this edition of Last Take for you. Whole lot of action on personal finance front right up next. So stay tuned with us on Money9.